we're joined here by three of the founding directors of Midwest Foods, a wonderful organisation with a great history of success. They're wonderful individuals, further to, I guess, the company culture and that they've created. I think kudos to them for what they've developed. The goal of today is to really unpack, I guess, a bit more about the inner workings of the organisation, but also this wonderful and exciting opportunity they're presenting and bringing a COO and ultimately CEO to their organisation to continue that growth path. So I really hope you've got a wonderful understanding at the back end of this in terms of the business and the role that we're now recruiting. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us here today and discuss a pretty exciting, I guess, chapter in the business story. Obviously, we've got the three of you guys. We've got Damien, Tony, and Shane joining us here. So where I'd really like to start the podcast is, can we start with an overview of how the Midwest business started, what the business looks like today, and with that, what is the wider offering that you provide your customer base, guys?
Yeah, well, no worries, Sean. The history of the business goes back to the early 80s. It started off under a different name as just basically a backyard operation and a guy with a van selling some small goods. In 89, I started in the business. In 92, we took some ownership there. At that stage, it had 2 vans, 1 truck, and 7 staff. The first relocations happened in 1993. We moved into a much bigger warehouse to allow growth. At that stage, we extended that warehouse. So only 3 years later, in 96, we then we had to lease the building next door to accommodate growth further. We had continual growth all through those times. Tony came into the business in 2000. In 2016, we made a decision. Again, we'd run out of space, which had been the story of our life the whole way through. So we decided that we would commit and build a purpose-built distribution centre up in a new business park up in Dubbo there, in Blue Ridge Business Park, which was a major undertaking for us. It's a 3,000 square metre facility. Freezers, chillers, dry store, all the rest of it. Something we're very proud of to this day. So that was our next relocation in 2016. In 2017, then we purchased a liquor wholesale business to move into our new warehouse to help fill the building, and obviously to both bolster up our income. At that stage, Shane and my wife Rachel both started back into working into the business, given that we'd taken on this new business and there was a lot of work involved in trying to merge that, and which takes us through to today. Currently, we employ approximately 65 people. We've got a fleet of very soon will be 20 delivery vehicles of various sizes, from small sort of runabout local area use right through to 10 pallet curtain-sided trucks and refrigerated vehicles. These vehicles, we around 70,000 kilometres a month in our standard travel, and we've got 5 sales reps on the road as well that covers most of the central west and far west New South Wales. The business itself, a loose definition of food service is basically wherever there is a meal prepared outside the home. So if you're thinking grocery, it's not quite the same. It's I guess food and service is the key to the differentiation between grocery. We have 1,200 active customers at the moment, ranging from education, institutional, hospitality, pubs, clubs, etc., takeaway, and everything in between. In an area like this, we don't tend to specialise in any particular channel. We try to be all things to all people. We also have a wholesale/retail outlet at the front of our building, which allows the general public to access a lot of our range, which you don't find most of that into the retail market. So usually bigger pack formats and products specifically designed for catering. And our product range includes frozen, chilled goods, small goods, etc. Dry pantry product, packaging product, cleaning product. We got obviously I mentioned our liquor distribution business we bought, so a full range of liquor, and recently we've branched into also selling hospitality equipment. So that's a new frontier for us, which we're quite excited about. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a snapshot of where we came from and where we're heading.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story of growth from relatively humble beginnings in the earlier parts of the business. And speaking to one of your fellow directors in preparation for this, I'm told there's a very deep care for your own families. There's a deep care for your staff, and there's a deep care for your customers. And I think there's also a deep care for the community that you guys live in. So maybe that's a good sort of segue into, I guess, the values. Can you sort of unpack the values that are alive and well within the business, not just words on a wall? Can you touch on what these are, and how do you guys describe the company culture?
Yeah, I might jump in on that one, Sean. We've done a lot of work on it, and we're proud of the work that we've done on our values. I suppose in a business that's you've just heard the sort of history of it. The values have always been there. And in practice, but in recent years, we've done a lot of work with our management teams through to our team leaders at the coalface, and then right through to all the people in the business. And the values are there, and what the difference is now that they're actually tangible. They're being lived and referred to by all of our staff, and it's a really big change over the last few years, but the emphasis has been there. And with it, we've gained a lot of traction and commitment through our staff, and it's very transparent from the directors right through. So in practice, you would see them on a walkthrough. You'll see them on our walls, our values. You'll see them referred to on the mouse pads on the desks in front of computers. They're a document that gets presented at all of our recruitment and interview sessions. So it's there. In short, at a glance, the words that we use to reflect our values are collaboration, fairness, integrity, and sustainability. And it was our intention to ingrain and embed these across all aspects of the business. And furthermore, extend it to our customers, our supply partners, and our community networks. We wanted to walk the walk and do what we are putting up on the wall. And that's evident. And when we have feedback from our staff right now that say we can see that in practice with things like where we're approaching issues around mental health, inclusive employment, all of those sort of things is a real example of where they are in practice. So I think there's plenty of evidence of it, but until you're in the building, you can't understand it as a feeling, and that's what they certainly are. So from certainly in practice to ingrained to culture of feeling that's tangible.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point to make. I think you can feel a culture, good or bad. And I'm told once more that when you walk into your organisation, there's a really fantastic sort of viable feeling amongst the business. So why don't you guys to make those words a living sort of practice within the organisation? I think that's fantastic. And I guess I'm keen to understand what the vision or outlook is for the business. We've talked a bit about the successful past, but I'm very, very keen to understand what the future entails, and also a little bit of information around this particular role that we're recruiting.
The outlook for us moving forward is quite positive. We've come from a very unusual year, as everyone knows, in 2020, and we can honestly say, hand on heart, that our team have done a fabulous job during COVID and come out the other side of it with some very tangible improvements and changes in the business. So, you know, we've won awards along the way, and I think it's a true reflection of how our team operates. And looking forward for 2021, we've got some projects. Our management team have lots of projects on the go, as does the directors of the company. So it's very positive outlook. We've had a really good financial year to date. We've had some records, which has been fantastic, and that's just testament to the staff that we have here, as well as the customers that we're servicing, and people are travelling around. So the role that we're looking at recruiting is a role that's a COO role with as an interim, and then to transition to a CEO role, and to have a focus on working with us on the strategy and the decision making on that, and also to ensure that person has the same vision as what we do. And we're looking for that in the next 6 months. So it's a pretty exciting time.
Absolutely. Sounds like a great platform to leverage from. I guess I'm also interested to understand, and I guess we've touched on a few already, but can you sort of talk about any of the philosophies on business, what you guys believe in deeply? And I guess, the wider board of directors, what are they looking for in this person? You touched on a few things there, Tony, in terms of, I guess, buying in and having their input into the strategy moving forward. But, I mean, what can you share in terms of the philosophies of business, in terms of what's near and dear to your heart, and also what the wider board are looking for in terms of this person that takes on this role?
Well, if we align ourselves with our company values that Shane spoke about a moment ago, it's really about leading by example. And that sounds very cliched, but we do that as a board and as an executive leadership team. And just to ensure that the person that we're bringing in is, has good ethics, works well within a team, treats the business as if it's their own, and looks at things the way that business owners look at them, because sometimes that can be a little bit different as well.
Yeah, so it seems like definitely that role modelling and leading from the front in terms of espousing the values and being a good example of what the business sort of stands for. Further to, I guess, acting like an owner, really sort of personalising their role or involvement in leading the business forward per the strategy. So I think it's an exciting opportunity for someone to come in and inject their energy and expertise further to what you guys have got there.
Yeah, already, and to be a good communicator or conduit between the business on an operational level and the board, because we do have quite structured board meetings. We also have a business coach, so and he comes into our board meetings as well, so it's good.
No, fantastic. I've heard there's great rigor in the board packs, which is fantastic for whoever sort of steps into this again, and some really good sort of structure and process there to for the successful person to inherit and build on, no doubt.
Around some of those philosophies, I guess you commented earlier about the continuing growth over the history of the business, and a few of the core philosophies that we've never ever lost sight of is very much about a long-term view of customer relationships. Some days you don't always win, but it's very much about retention over a long period. We don't run a P&L on each transaction. Sometimes you've got to make sure that you're looking after the customer. It's very important that we understand their business and we respond as required to our customers when they need it. And an overarching mantra that we work on is DIFOT, or delivery in full on time. It's so important to our business. We run at a very, very high fulfillment rate. But one of the great quotes our sales manager likes to use is that you've got to get the product when they want it, as they need it, the right product, because they can't cook a credit note. And I think that's a really good way to sum it up. So very much an underlying philosophy is the long-term customer relationships.
Yeah, obviously that's held you guys in good stead throughout, by the sounds of it. But I love that mantra. I think that's fantastic. So moving beyond, I guess, some of those philosophies, if we sort of drill into that detail for you guys and the wider board, what are the really core elements that this person must nail or be highly proficient in as they step into this position?
Yeah, I just think the person that ends up in this role will be somebody that's certainly not daunted by a high-paced environment. Day-to-day, a very busy business, so to speak, but they'd have to have a collection of skills and experience to bring to the role, and a mindset that's open to creative thinking and strategic concepts, and then being able to action them with the support of the team that's in place. So there are a few of the broader skills. Maybe Damien and Tony can add a few of the more detailed skills to further expand on that.
Obviously, with this role, they will be required to have a finance understanding, so be able to read and understand financial documents and communicate that amongst their team. We do have managers within in the company that are, finance managers, sales managers. We have 7 departments. So, and also to have a technology understanding, because that's where we see the vision for Midwest Foods and Liquor moving forward. That's where efficiencies are going to come from. So we've implemented quite a few new software packages as far as voice picking and scanning and those sorts of things, and that's where we see the future heading. Shane mentioned about the high-paced environment. Totally agree with that. We're very, very high transactional business, so there's always something to do and plenty to do. And also with people management, they want to be able to have the empathy, but to be able to be decisive and be firm and fair. And that really aligns with our company values as well.
Another attribute, I think, which is more subtle or harder to probably define, is the need of people management skill set around not only our team but our customers. We go a long way out west into some very small remote areas, and country people tend to have a different way of they're different to city folk, if you know what I mean. And I think the person that comes in needs to be able to adapt to the different personalities they're going to meet along the way through their customer base and their team. Which can sometimes be very, very different to someone who may have lived a whole life in their city, So just an awareness of that and to be able to acknowledge it.
Yeah, I think that's a good distinction to make, and not to be, overly firm in the stereotypes, but I'd imagine that sometimes in a larger city environment, the dynamic could be a little bit more transactional. It seems like in your environment, that notion of relationship is just critical, and back to the mantra that you guys touched on before in terms of you can't serve or cook a credit note. It seems like that relationship base is just so critical as you operate in that rural sort of context.
Yeah, we become their trusted partner. Some of those places, they only get a delivery once a week. So if what they've ordered isn't on the vehicle, but just as I suppose back up what I'm trying to say, we get a lot of supplier sales reps that come out here to sell their wares and do their sampling and do their cook-ups, and they go and call on our customers. And without doubt, every one of them will say they enjoy coming on their country trips so much because of the different conversations they can have with people out here versus typically more hard-nosed, as you say, transactional conversations they have in the cities. They really love getting out into the regional areas and meeting those personalities. So just an awareness thing.
Absolutely. I tend to find when I go to rural areas, it's probably more authentic. There's a more, a less of a facade, more genuine in nature, some of the conversations you had. And I think it's quite refreshing when you sort of come from some of those high-paced city environments to those sorts of areas. But notwithstanding that, it seems like the person you're looking for, you want that person to be dynamic, fast-moving, energetic, strategic in thinking, a real leader of people, and that means empathy, but also someone that can be firm when necessary. You talk about some of the evolution of your IT infrastructure to support the evolution of the business moving forward. Also, that financial acumen, Tony. M&A's become part of the historical growth strategy. Is there anything else you think moving forward that this person will be charged with that might be worth noting, guys?
There's some pretty exciting things happening in our industry as far as robotics goes, as an example. We've got online ordering and apps and that sort of thing. But as I mentioned before, the digital focus, the e-commerce focus. It's just critical to be able to move forward and gain efficiencies and, maybe be ahead of the game with some other competitors.
The other thing we're really looking forward to in choosing the right candidate is also some fresh eyes, some fresh ideas, and particularly some fresh energy into what's next. We have our ideas, but it's always good to get somebody else come in to challenge the paradigms. And one of the things we do have up our sleeve, which I mentioned that we've relocated the business twice so far in our lifetime, is that we've also just acquired another block of land beside another 10,000 square metres of land beside where we are now. So opportunities that if it's right and it comes along, we're not going to run into the same space we've run into previously. Where if we can justify to extend what we do now, or branch into something related that may be a logical add-on to the business.
I love that focus on growth and further to the investment and what you've done thus far, whether it's robotics or some of the other technological innovations and whatnot, further to the land to grow the business. It seems like there's a clear intent for the business to continue the growth story and trajectory, which is exciting for whoever joins the business. Well, I guess just looking at that first 6 months, can you guys maybe go into a bit of detail around, this successful individual? What are the expectations for this person in say, that first 6 months?
There will be a very structured induction process. As I mentioned before, we've got 7 departments. So we have an executive leadership team, so it'd be working very close with them, understanding what the culture of the business is, what the people are like, and what our customers are, what our suppliers are like. So it's about familiarising themselves with that, and that will take 6 months. And to be able to work with the board on a structured basis and a learning basis, pick our brains, share our knowledge, because we've been in the industry for a long time. I've been here for January, it'll be 21 years. So it's, we have a lot of knowledge that, some of it's down on paper, some of it's not. So some's in our heads. So to be able to share that and work very closely with this new position or this new person is crucial for us to ensure that it's successful.
I'd just add something to support that. I think Tony said a comment just at the end there. It's about setting the person up for success. It's in everyone's best interest, and whatever we can do to help that be a successful transition, whether it be from relocation to introduction into the community. We've all of our families have grown up here, so we do know quite a few people around the area, and it's a great place to live. I've been quite often asked, have you missed living in the city and things like that? No, we can travel to the city. That's easy. But you can't get what you can get here in Dubbo in a lot of ways. So it's in our best interest to set the person up for success. And that's a win-win all round.
Fantastic. I really like the comments there around setting that person up for success. I think that's clear in all the conversations we've had, but also like from Tony's point of view, having that structured induction. I think so often people get excited about the recruitment process. They get the successful person and then that structure falls away and you potentially set yourself up to fail sometimes or not succeed at the rate you could. So I love the fact that you guys are investing in that onboarding phase, just so critical. But also, I guess, like you say, Tony, there's 21 years of IP in your head and obviously the fellow directors have a lot of knowledge in their head that may or may not always be in a process or detailed. So I think utilising this person to really unpack that magic further to what's documented, I think that's really, really critical. And I guess one of the comments you made before is you've got a strong executive leadership team, which is, I think, fantastic for this person to sort of come on board and complement and support and lead. But from their point of view, what sort of leadership style do you think will resonate best or be most effective with that group?
Very much a growth mindset and an encouragement to allow the group to grow along with the business. through training, through mentorship. We just encourage them. We have great processes in place for them around their project management. We share things, but they ask for help. We just really collaborative group they are to work with, and they're all very passionate about the business. Obviously, to be he or she will need to be decisive and reflecting the values all the way through that, and making sure that we stick to the railway tracks. But they're very eager to grow, very eager to learn. We try and expose them as much as we can to. There's not a lot of information in this business that they're now not exposed to, and they really get the big picture. So they've been an outstanding group all the way through COVID. They've stood behind us. Early days of COVID, it was every morning was a crisis meeting, and everybody had their job to get through for the day. The whole business, we went on to a reduced pay scale for a period, but their hours and their efforts probably increased rather than decreased. Given how quiet the business was, we were down probably 60% at worst, and them guys all just really put their shoulder to the wheel and helped us get through it. It was pretty proud to be part of the whole thing with them, actually. So the person that comes into the role would just encourage what they do and just help them to grow, because they're all keen.
No, that sounds fantastic. And I think comment that you make there, Damien, around how they operated during COVID, and there was some tough times for those involved. I think we all experienced that in different ways, but to see that discretionary effort, to see that despite some of the decisions you had to make from a fundamental point of view, the fact that they stepped up and maybe went above and beyond what was called for at that point in time, I think that sort of shows how invested they are in the business. And no doubt this group is invested in supporting this person come in and assist take the business to the next level. So they're not guarded in that capacity. It seems like they're welcoming and open to support this person, add their knowledge and expertise, which is great. So one of the things we talked about earlier was, and I think we've touched on it a couple of times throughout, is how invested and active you all appear to be in the community. And I think rural communities depend on people participating and adding value, whatnot, to the community. Is that an expectation, or do you think a key success factor in whoever comes to this role and making the assumption they may not live in Dubbo, they move to Dubbo? Do you think this is a key success factor or an expectation from your guys' point of view?
Yeah, look, I could probably add from my perspective what we do as a business in the community, but also as individuals. I would expect that the person not only would want to be, because that's how they're going to ultimately get the most out of the experience of moving to Dubbo and understanding our region, but the person would ultimately be a key figure in as the face of the business, working collaboratively, obviously, with community interests from a business sense. We currently have involvement through some very active organisations such as Regional Development Australia, the Chamber of Commerce, local, state, federal government levels. We have on many occasions with each one of those organisations and government levels we've been active with. So that's one part of it. As a community and business corporate citizen, obviously we have a lot to do with charity and community support, sponsorships, community development initiatives. So really putting back into the community that supported us so well. And yeah, key part of our operations is our involvement and representation into the community, not only in Dubbo, but the whole area that we service.
Now, it sounds very much like you guys are active in being a corporate citizen that invests into the community that supports your business. So I think that's wonderful, and I too believe that you only get out what you put in. So I think if someone's willing to invest into the community like you guys have, it seems like it will be quite fulfilling personally and professionally, and a big part of how you guys do your business, which has clearly been a part of the successful formula thus far. So I guess whilst we're sort of talking a little bit about, the region, for folks that aren't overly familiar with Dubbo, what can you tell us about the town? What do you think, people like yourselves love living there? Is there any sort of details you can share with people that are maybe less familiar with the region?
I think the beauty of Dubbo is one part of it is location. We're very well. There's 3 highways intersect at Dubbo, so it's the connectivity in Dubbo. There's 5 different airlines that operate out of Dubbo Airport, which give access to lots, including Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Newcastle, but also some of the smaller regional towns. There's great educational facilities. There's a state-of-the-art public high school out here, and several private schools that are absolutely enormous in what they've done, their investment in their schools, their results. We've also got Charles Sturt University's got a campus out here. From an arts point of view, we have a regional theatre that's got a full calendar of entertainment all year that comes through. There's a big convention centre. There's art galleries. The Western Plains Zoo is a world-class zoo just out the road a little bit that's been here for many, many years and is highly regarded. Recreation facilities, we're about 40 minutes from a lake where there's water skiing and all that sort of stuff for people that might be that way inclined. There's national parks all around us within probably a couple of hours drive. There's plenty of national parks for bushwalkers or camping or whatever you like. The sporting facilities in the town is second to none. We've got absolutely top-class ovals, fields for every code of football's represented in town. There's cricket, there's a 27-hole golf course, there's hockey, there's tennis, there's everything that you might be looking for. You'd be flat out to not have it here in town in some form or other. Just a few stats, I guess. The median house price in Dubbo at the end of November was $380,000, which in this region there's an enormous amount of tree changes happening at the moment. There's people that have decided that they've had enough of the big smoke and they want to come to the bush, and a lot of them are really landing on golden nest eggs by the time they sell their place in the city for what it's worth and come out here. A lot of upside in all that. The unemployment rate at the moment, Tony mentioned how much activity there is in town at the moment around infrastructure spending from the governments in all levels and also private investment. The unemployment rate at the moment, the national unemployment rate 7%. At the end of November, the unemployment rate in Dubbo is 1.4%. So that sort of shows how much activity is going on. And while there's activity going on, people are looking for food and liquor. So it's really a fat time at the moment as far as activity around the town. So that's probably in a nutshell. It's a population of about 41,000 at the moment. Average growth in Dubbo is typically 1 to 1.5% a year, and has done for ever since I've been here. It's just a very much a regional hub for all the western area towns, for the light industries, the professional services. So always have influx of people from out west that come in, and a lot of them stay overnight and get their things sorted out. Yeah, very much a thriving town, and it's not reliant on any one industry.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. You've got me sold. I guess anyone with a young family or anything like that, and someone who enjoys the outdoors and participating actively, I think it sounds to be fantastic. And I guess the wider economic environment is prosperous and healthy and bright looking forward. And I think, like you say, with that median house price at $380,000 relative to what you might pay in some of those larger towns or cities throughout Australia, I mean, that's just phenomenal. So the wider cost of living benefits further to, I guess, all that a town like Dubbo offers is very, very good. Further to, I guess, the career prospect that you guys are presenting. So I too agree. We are seeing a lot of tree change and people deciding that, maybe on the back of COVID, it's a great time to look at a different environment. And I think understanding those environments is something that is often lacking. So I think you've touched on some fantastic detail there and data for those that might look at this opportunity in the region as part of the consideration. So some great responses there. So I might just sort of get to the pointy end of the podcast and sort of ask you guys how you would sell the opportunity to join the business, because I think there's been some exciting stuff we've talked about thus far today. How would you guys, just to summarise things, how would you sell the opportunity to join the business?
I think one key point that I probably failed to mention earlier, we're also a member of Australia's largest group of independent wholesale distributors, countrywide Australasia. There's 115 members across the country. It's $1 billion business as far as combined purchases go. And probably to pat ourselves on the back a little bit, we've actually won the Regional Member of the Year 9 times in the last 12 years. So that, I guess, we're held in fairly high esteem within the industry. That awards are actually voted by our suppliers, not by our peers, and that's something we're very proud of. And every year we strive to win that award. There's only 2 awards every year. It's a regional and a metropolitan distributor of the year. So across all of Australia, we've been able to make that trophy our own for a while now. So just another, I guess, it's a highly respected business within the industry.
Absolutely. No, it sounds like plenty of awards won over time, but it sounds like that's one that holds a lot of credibility and esteem in the industry.
I could probably just add another thing in sort of wrapping up there, Sean. I'll try and bring a few words that we've heard throughout this podcast. Opportunity. It's an absolute opportunity for somebody. It's an opportunity to work in a business that's got the values that we described. And it's an opportunity to join a community that we've talked about. When you think of our 65 plus staff here, they've got kids that go to the schools, that use the hospitals, that use the local sporting facilities, that spend their wages in our town, go on holidays, take people and visitors to the zoo. It's an absolute opportunity. That's how I would sell it to somebody, and it's got the support of the board of directors that actively are involved in looking for success. So that's a little bit of a pitch, I suppose, from my perspective.
I'm going to give a little bit of a different spin. We moved from Newcastle to Dubbo nearly 21 years ago, and with 2 little children, expecting to probably stay for a couple of years. And 21 years later, we've got 2 children that have finished school, finished university, and we're living the dream. We don't have the big mortgage that potentially you would do in the cities, but my decision to start in the business was all about potential, and this is what this is now offering somebody else, is the potential. We don't micromanage. We've discussed as directors giving this person the opportunity to have the freedom to make change and make decision. And we're very transparent, and we have been very transparent with our executive leadership team. So they see our P&L. So everybody is on the same page. So we're not working against each other. So I think that's very crucial for somebody coming in to understand that that's how we actually operate as well.
Well, I think clearly living proof of the move to Dubbo. And
everyone thought we were a bit crazy, but we weren't. It was good.
Which is wonderful, but I love that notion of potential. I think for the right person, potential is exciting, and both for the business and for them, I guess, as individuals and maybe their families as well. I think that's exciting, that potential. But from my interactions with you guys thus far and the research I've done, it seems like you guys are all wonderful people, and I think so often when we do recruitment, it's about the culture and the people that you work with. So I congratulate you guys on, I guess, your character and your personality, and it seems like your business and the people within it really enjoy working for the organisation and what you've created. You've obviously got a track record of success, very humble beginnings, but you've got a great platform there and a great vision for the future, and also whoever joins to sort of support or add to that vision for the future. So I think it's a great opportunity. There's a degree of sophistication that may not be always prevalent in organisations of this size, and sort of looking forward to continue that growth path. So I'm excited, and we're excited as an organisation to bring this opportunity and the awareness of this opportunity to people in our network. So I'd say thanks, guys. Thanks for taking the opportunity to speak to us about this exciting development in the business. And I've got no doubt, looking forward, that whoever joins this role will be rewarded well, and it'll be a fulfilling experience. So thanks for entrusting us to help you on that journey.
Thanks,
No
Sean.
worries.
Sean.
Right, guys, don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited, enthused and engaged around the business, I guess the region they live and work in, and the opportunity itself. So the goal today was to provide a really great insight into all of that, and I think guys have done a wonderful job in depicting all of that. So if that is of interest, then please get in touch per the details we've nominated, or if you know anyone else in your wider network, we'd really appreciate you sending this podcast on to them so they've got a better understanding of the role and the opportunity. So thanks so much for taking the time to listen, and if you do have any interest, confidential or other, please feel free to get in touch.
Thank you for listening to Stellarcast. This show aligns with why Robbie McIlwraith and Sean McCambridge co-founded the company. Their mission was to help and nurture others to reach and exceed their potential. For trusted recruitment and career advice, contact Stellar today.